functions. However, number 82, lead, is definitely one element that is not on the menu. Even tiny amounts can have severe health effects on people and other animals. And to make it worse, lead tricks your body to get in. Lead mimics the good elements your body needs, like calcium and zinc. Once inside, it replaces those metals, destroying important bodily functions.
You can think of it as sort of the lead hijacking your body system that it's developed to take up the metals that you need for good nutritional purposes.
By either breathing it or swallowing it, lead typically enters the body as dust. Since it masquerades as a needed mineral, the body readily accepts this deceptive toxin and sends it into the bloodstream. Lead poisoning can affect almost all parts of the body, but its effects are most pronounced in the central nervous system and brain. Here at the Department of Environmental Health Sciences at UCLA, research is showing that lead can take the place of zinc in a protein that regulates how your genes are transcribed or copied. And when this happens, it can interfere with the development of your nervous system and even red blood cells. Lead is one of the most studied toxic substances, and as a result, more is known about the adverse health effects of lead and how to prevent them than virtually any other chemical. Yet according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 400,000 children suffer from lead poisoning each year. The majority of cases are from swallowing lead paint or playing in contaminated soil around their homes. But why would a kid eat lead paint? It's another tricky trait of this heavy metal. Lead stimulates the specific taste buds that tell the brain something is sweet, making a lead paint chip a tasty yet toxic treat for a toddler.
When children are exposed to even relatively small amounts of lead, they can end up having permanent developmental problems. And certainly if you have very high levels, children could experience coma or even death.
Children are much more susceptible to lead poisoning than adults because a child's body will absorb more lead, and it will retain what it absorbs. This buildup of lead in the body is what causes serious and irreversible damage. In Southern California, like much of the rest of the country, hundreds of thousands of homes were built before lead paint was banned in 1978. In fact, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development estimates more than 38 million homes still contain lead paint, and that 1 in 4 American houses contain some type of lead hazard. And why was lead used in paint in the first place? Because it made paint moisture-proof and durable. The City of Los Angeles is required by law to send inspectors to every rental unit in a multifamily building to look for code violations, including peeling paint.
They find the oldest housing, the largest buildings, places where we know there will be a higher risk.
To confirm the presence of lead in paint, a special lead inspector will systematically go through the home, room by room, testing samples of the painted surfaces. This is done using a handheld X-ray fluorescence device called an XRF gun. It finds lead by reading the unique set of characteristic fluorescence X-rays that lead emits. It's like a detective finding lead's fingerprint at the scene.
We'll test the sash first. 8.2 milligrams per square centimeter. So that's considered to have lead. It's way above the 0.7 milligrams per square centimeter here in LA County.
The areas most likely to have lead-based paint are going to be windows and doors.
It was actually a pretty high reading.
And you want to be careful because those are friction surfaces. So they're rubbing together all the time. They're doing a lot of work that's causing paint chips to come down or lead dust to be created.
Before 1978, lead paint was found inside a home, mostly in 2 rooms where moisture was most likely to be prevalent.
The areas that you want to be careful with is when you've painted over the hinges, if that's old lead-based paint on there. Obviously on the low cabinets, what concerns me is I see chipping paint around all of them kind of at this height, which is where if you're fixing food in the kitchen and the baby's crawling around, this is a perfectly accessible height.
However, be warned, extensive lead hazard repairs need to be done according to strict lead-safe work practices. The cure can be worse than the disease.
This is the amount that it would take to poison 12 households. So if you think about it, your last remodeling job, your last do-it-yourselfer, did you generate this much dust? And in fact, the reason lead-based paint was even banned in the United States in 1978 was because you had folks doing these repairs themselves and their children seizured and ended up in the hospital. Containment. You want to set up plastic because you want to make sure that any dust or clumps of paint or paint chips are going to fall onto something that you can then clean up, wrap up, and take out of the home. You also want to work wet. You want to be able to not create dry dust that blows around.
Just remember, when removing lead paint, the last thing you want to do is let the